One of the biggest hurdles to getting people to use a CRM is it starts being complicated, but it gets easier. And that investment of time that you put into building a pipeline comes back in huge dividends.
It does.
So when you start offloading all of those internal systems, all of your thinking onto the pipeline, suddenly a lot more potential clients start coming in. Now you're juggling 15, 20, 30 potential clients, not just 5. Welcome, badass entrepreneurs. It's time to hear the world's movers, shakers, and difference makers spill their secrets for unlimited success. So strap in, for Badass Entrepreneurs Only begins now. Welcome, badass entrepreneurs, to another episode of For Badass Entrepreneurs Only. As always, I am thrilled and excited to have my guest, John Golden. Let me tell you a little bit about John. John is the Amazon bestselling author of Winning the Battle for Sales: Lessons on Closing Every Deal from the World's Greatest Military Victories, and his other book, Social Upheaval: How to Win at Social Selling. A global acknowledged sales and marketing leader, speaker, and strategist, he has conducted over 350 video interviews of thought leaders for Sales Pop, an online sales magazine, and has a podcast channel on iTunes with over 287 audio interviews. He is CSMO at Pipeliner CRM. In his spare time, John is an avid Marvel artist. We're going to find out all about this from John Golden. Let's welcome John Golden. Welcome to For Badass Entrepreneurs Only.
Yeah, thanks, Coach Dan. Thank you for having me.
So rarely do I ask people to talk about the thing that they sell, because I don't want For Badass Entrepreneurs Only to be an infomercial. But the thing that you're offering is so important for sales. I just had to have you on and had to talk about it. So let's talk about pipelines, why they're so important, why so few entrepreneurs do them, and what Pipeliner offers. Jump in.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. I think when people start out initially, maybe as an entrepreneur, a small business, there's a group of whoever, let's face it, we always tend to think we can get by with just doing stuff, like, roughly, because we're so focused on just getting everything up and running. So we don't have to worry about tools and keeping track of things and having a CRM system and all. That's all for big companies, and there's some truth in that to some degree. But however, regardless of whether you're small, medium, or large, you need to understand how your buyer buys. And therefore, how your buyer buys should be reflected in how you sell. Therefore, you need a process to do that.
Okay, so wait, hold on. Yeah. So right there, you need to understand how your buyer buys. What does that mean?
It's understanding, like, how does your buyer your target buyer, how do they find you in the first place? Like, how do they interact with you? Where do they find you? And then how do they like to engage? So is this in your industry, your product, service, whatever you're selling? Is this something where they like to do a lot of things digitally or online or hands off to begin with and then get involved with you? Is this something where they like to connect early on? Is this an experiential sale? There's a lot of different things that go into it. But to be honest, if you haven't identified who your target customer is, and you haven't at least talked to some people who fit that profile and get an understanding of how they like to buy, then, your sales process is going to be out of whack if you don't understand the buying process.
Okay, so how do people like to buy? Somebody gives you a credit card and that's how they buy. What's the big differentiation?
Well, I'm thinking more about the process leading up for them deciding to buy. So the decision-making process that they go through, or how they like to find the information, how they like to make their decision. And there's always commonalities between how customers like to do that, especially your ideal target customer. So really understanding that, because when you understand that, then you can build a sales process to match it. You can say, okay, here's in the first part of the process, maybe they engage digitally with us, then they get this, then we move on to this process, then we get into negotiation, whatever. But having it the earlier on, or the sooner that you can develop a process. And remember, the thing is, sales processes are not static, they're dynamic. So don't think that, let's sit down for 2 days, put our sales process together, and thank goodness we got that out. We don't have to worry about that for the next couple of years. So you should always be revisiting it. But the earlier you define your process and align it to how buyers like to buy or how your buyers like to buy, the better. Because then here's the thing is, Dan, even if it's me on my own, if I do that work, you may say that's not really necessary for somebody like a solopreneur. But no, but maybe hopefully you're going to bring on some people. Maybe you're going to eventually grow. It's going to make it a heck of a lot easier for you to onboard other people if you have built a process already, or even to hand off sales to somebody else.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Go back. I didn't answer the other part of your question. Yeah. And to be honest, if you are not using a CRM system to manage your relationships, then I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you.
You're colossally wasting most of your time.
How about that? It's if you said to a bookkeeper and you said, "Oh, what platform do you use? You use Intuit or whatever?" They go, "No, I don't use any."
Yeah, I just remember it.
Yeah, I kind of remember. I write it down here. There, I've got people like, "Are you nuts? Nobody doesn't have a bookkeeping system," and I think CRM is the same.
Yeah, and when you talk about the way that different people buy, I really like that because some of your customers love to collect a lot of information before making a decision.
Yep.
Other customers just want to make the decision and move forward, right? So if you're treating them all the same, you're going to knock out or you're going to piss off half of your potential customers, right? If you do a really slow process, the ones who are ready to jump are going to be like, this person isn't serious. Yeah. And by the same token, if you are saying things like, hey, come on, let's jump in now, and they like taking their time, they're just going to feel a lot of pressure. So how does having a CRM help balance those two types of customers?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, by the way. And I think it's because the better you are at defining those different types of customers, right? So because you raise a good point, every customer journey doesn't have to be the same, and it'd be great if it was, but it doesn't have to be. And therefore, what you need to do, I think, is at that beginning point is if you see somebody who's engaging electronically, you make sure that they continue to get the information they want, and then you offer them opportunities to engage, right? If it's somebody who you say, oh, clearly wants to engage early, wants to move the process forward, I think then you jump in and maybe you say, okay, we can move a couple of stages in the process at once. And I think that's where the flexibility comes in, is that you have a sales process, but you can adapt it to the situation as long as you don't just throw it out the window. So if I say, Dan's a guy, he doesn't want to hang around. He's a high energy guy. I'm not going to take him through all of these steps right here. I'm going to jump him over to here, and we're going to move this process forward. So I think you always have to have that level of flexibility. And then you have to be adept at having the right processes and automations and digital content that can be used by the person who likes to do the research. And then you also have to have the good outreach, flexibility, relationship building, that it's a relationship element for people who want to buy very quickly, because you need to build rapport fast.
Yeah. And so is there a way to use a CRM to discern which type of customers, which one likes more information, which one likes to jump?
Yeah. I mean, you can tell, say with Pipeline, you can tell by by everything they do is recorded, right? All the emails, the white papers they've gotten, the documents they've received, what they've done. So all of that. So you can pretty quickly establish this is a heavy research person, or you can also, by looking at the information and the interactions to date, you can say, this is pretty much a net person here. I better net things out. Yeah, I think it's incredible. Because I think it's like everything else in life. It's all about patterns, isn't it? When you observe things for a while, you start to see patterns. And it's the same thing with, if you're using your CRM on a daily basis and you're really using it properly, it'll uncover patterns for you if it's used right. That's part of why Pipeliner included the archive that no other CRM has. And that's where, if you lose a deal, say you lose a deal in stage 3, you can just archive it. But it goes into the archive, and the archive is a replica of the pipeline, right?
Yeah.
The sales process. So it goes into the archive that's lost at stage 3, okay? All the information there. Say it comes back later, you can just reactivate it. But what it does do is it gives you phenomenal opportunity to look at things from a macro and a micro level. And what I mean by
Okay,
that is
hold on just a
sorry,
second. Okay. So I want to take a step backwards here, right?
yes.
For people who don't really understand what a pipeline is, let's talk about that. What is it? What's it look like? Why, if you don't have a pipeline, should you start using it? Let's start with what is it and what's it look like?
Yeah, a lot of pipelines you'll see are being, or they'll be called funnels too. We don't particularly like the funnel metaphor, to
Yeah.
be perfectly honest. This is why we don't have it in our system. But basically what you're doing is you're taking your opportunities and you are organizing them in a logical sequence of where
Yeah.
they are in the sales process. So, maybe most are between 4 and 6 stages, right? So you have 4 stages. You have the start off, which is when they're like a lead or a early prospect. And then as you develop them, you move them through, you apply percentage closing likelihood and that. So you can then look and say, okay, I have got 10 opportunities in stage one. I probably don't even, maybe I'll give them a 5% chance right now of closing. I've got X amount of opportunities in the other stages. So overall, it weighs itself out and balances itself out so you can get some kind of predictive analysis about where you are, like how much revenue, when things are going to close, how far in the sales process they are. So this is like a fuel of your business, right? At the end of the day, your pipeline, just think of it, your pipeline's like your gas tank or your plug in the garage. If you don't plug in your EV, if you don't fill up your tank with gas, it ain't going to go anywhere, right?
Right. And so like with my pipeline, I mean, my pipeline starts right with how did I meet them? Right. Like that's the first thing. And then what happened next? Right. And then what do I do now? And, I've talked to a lot of entrepreneurs who say, I don't really have a sales process. I just talk with people and then you do have a sales process. You're just afraid of breaking it down and looking at it. Right. Because it gets a little complicated. But actually, when you first, things get easy after you make them complicated. Right. So you have to kind of reverse engineer how your process is, what every step is. Right. And then what happens at every step, how you engage people, how you re-engage them, where they get stuck in the pipeline.
Yep.
Right. I mean, I have, in mine, there's a space I call turnaround, right. Where people are like, well, not right now. Right. Like, okay, great. I'm going to hit them up in 60 or in 30 days. Right. In 30 days after that. And the advantage of that is after 3 months, when someone says, I'm going to think about it for another month, I can go, hey, so 3 months, like 3 months ago, if you had started with me, you'd be at X stage. Now you're still at stage 1 instead of stage 10. Not like, how much longer are you going to wait? So I'm actually leveraging their hesitation to help me sell. Now, I didn't realize I was doing that until I built a pipeline. Right? So you move someone through every stage, and it's so important to reverse engineer your process so you understand that, so you can systematize it, so you can put more people through. When I built my own pipeline, which I started with just a Google spreadsheet, it allowed me to have so many more potential customers. Every morning I woke up and I looked at my pipeline. Where was I with each person? Nobody gets forgotten. So that right there is one of the most beneficial aspects of it.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that you alluded to there is that pipeline provides focus at the end of the day, because when you start your day and you look at your pipeline and your notifications, your eye should immediately be focused on the opportunities that need attention, the ones that need follow-up, the ones that have the greatest opportunity. So it's also a way of focusing you, because like I said, you go back to your old list on your Excel spreadsheet. How are you actually prioritizing things on that? So it should be directing you, it should be visual, and it should be directing your attention to what's most important.
Terrific. And I just look at I have everything in boxes, right? So if you think about it like a horse race, I look at all the horses that are in front, right?
Yep.
Where am I in the last stage of each person? Did I say I'd get back to them in 30? I have automatic things happen.
Sure.
So let's talk about the automation that any pipeline offers, and Pipeliner in particular.
Yeah, I think automation is one of those scary words that sometimes people are AI and automation that tends to get going. But the reality is that there are so many routine, rote, manual, repetitive tasks out there that anything you can do to remove those to get, because we're always about giving people more time to do what they're good at, which is
Right.
salespeople, giving you more time to sell. We have a workflow automation engine called the Automatizer, and we've email sequences, we've all of those things so that you can automate as much as you can to free up the time for your salesperson to focus on selling, number one, and on relationship building, and get away all this. And that often, Dan, that removes a lot of the block towards CRM, is because if you say, oh, CRM, I got to waste all this time doing all this manual stuff and all of that. If you go, no, all of that stuff is automated, don't worry about that piece. Then you're like, oh, okay, I'm running out of excuses here now. I better start
Right.
using the system.
And look, I think one of the biggest, not I think, I know one of the biggest hurdles to getting people to use a CRM is it starts being complicated. Like it starts with being, and yeah, it's going to be complicated at first. If you want to learn how to play the piano, it's going to be complicated at first, but it gets easier. And that investment of time that you put into building a pipeline comes back in huge dividends.
It does.
And you're right. There is a stigma about pipelines, about CRMs, just like there's a stigma about salespeople. In fact, I had one of my clients say, you don't use a CRM, right? And like, of course I do. Oh, I hate those. And they didn't hate the CRM. What they hated was the standardized messages that they get out of CRM. So I want to talk about how do you use a CRM and maintain a sense of authenticity in the relationship.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good observation as well, because as you said, there's a temptation when it comes to automation, right? You can be tempted to automate everything. You can be tempted to go, this is going to save me a load of time and I can just fire. You have to be selective, because I do believe at the end of the day that authenticity in relationship and that has come back. Not that it ever really went away, but it was downplayed a lot by people pre-COVID and that everything is digital and people don't care about that anymore. And then you're going, no, actually people do care. In fact, they probably care more. They care more than ever now.
Yeah.
And I think that's why with the authenticity piece with your CRM is that you can be on top of things, right? So you can be following up when you say you're going to follow up. You can organize your meetings. You can have visibility from other people to provide in your organization to help you with advice. But I think the main thing is that you can go to the record of whoever you're dealing with. You can see all of all of the tasks and stuff that you need to do in relation to them. You can see, like in Pipeliner, you can see, we'll tell you whether this is healthy or not. We have a health score, right?
What do you mean? What is healthy?
Well, maybe there, depends what parameters you put in, but maybe it is like no contact in 6 months, this kind of thing, they haven't done much. And you can come up with your own ones, but we come up with certain like indicators in the system to say, okay, this needs attention. And therefore you can outreach to that person with actually understanding where they are, in the process. Maybe they're not using the system in the way you think they should be, or they could be, so you can offer advice. But I think the thing about CRM, when it gathers all the information logically and you can make informed decisions based on it, that's where the authenticity comes in. Because as I said, in that situation, I can outreach to you and I can say, oh, we haven't heard from you in a long time, Dan. And, I notice, perhaps, using the system quite as much as other people are. What can we do to help you? What can I do to help you? Right. Now that's an authentic outreach. I'm offering you something. I'm not even asking you for anything. I'm just offering you. I'm offering you help. I'm offering you advice. I'm checking in with you. All of those kind of things, which I think are incredibly important. But that's time consuming too, right? So that's where the CRM comes in, where it can highlight where again, it's all about focus, highlight where you need to focus. This needs attention now. This isn't looking very healthy. This one here, maybe you look at it's flagging something because there's a lot of support tickets coming in. You're saying, okay, I need to maybe insert myself into this process. There's so many ways of you inserting yourself into the process or interacting with your customer in very elegant and valuable ways for them. But you can only do that because the CRM is providing you with the context and the information to be able to do that.
The other thing that a CRM does on a subconscious level is, look, if you start thinking, okay, I can juggle 5 or 6 potential clients at once, and that feels okay.
Yeah.
You're going to subconsciously push away or not take advantage of new potential clients because this internal system, your internal operating system, is saying 5 is my number, 6 is too many. So when you start offloading all of those internal systems, all of your thinking onto the pipeline, suddenly a lot more potential clients start coming in,
Yeah.
right? Now you're juggling 15, 20, 30 potential clients, not just 5, because you've opened up that part of you that says it's not overwhelming to get more people in as potential clients, right? You're not relying on your memory, which, by the way, is the worst strategy for any kind of sales process,
Yeah.
right?
Relying on my memory for anything these days is a
Yeah,
bad
I
move.
know. Yeah, look, every month I check my calendar. Is it my fiance's birthday this month? Let me just double check. Okay, no, it's not. Good. I got some more time. Now, what is an easy way for someone to start, right? Again, someone's concerned, okay, it's going to take a lot of time, a lot of effort. What's a small, easy way to begin to offload some of this into a pipeline?
Oh, yeah, I would agree. I would start small. I would start off with bringing your contacts into the CRM. That's a good
Hmm.
starting point, is import your contacts.
Right.
And then what I would do is I would just build a very small, simple, maybe 3-stage sales process to begin. Just start getting used to interacting with your contacts and putting the opportunities in your small pipeline and just organizing things a little bit, getting used to coming into the CRM every day, getting used to reviewing what's going on in a record, what's going on with a prospect or a customer by reviewing
Mm.
it. But I would just start small. That's what I would say. So bring in your contacts, make sure that you have all the information in there that you need. And then I would build a very simple process, probably follow the defaults in the system to begin with, and then start to evolve it over time. But it's like that thing, Dan. It's like that saying, what's it? The best time to plant a tree is 40
Yeah.
years. The second best time is right now. I think
Yeah.
that's the thing is I think you just got to jump into it. But I guess where people often fall down, and I'm guilty of this, as anybody, you give me a new system and I'm like, oh yeah, this is cool. And then I just go, oh, look over there. That feature looks awesome. And suddenly I'm off trying to do something way too complicated and
Yeah.
distracting or whatever, instead of going, no, let me just focus on the basics to begin with. And that would be my advice. Focus on the basics, get your contacts in, get your data clean. That's really important, is make sure whatever
What
data you bring in, it's clean and
what
you
does that
clean.
mean?
It means that the contact data is up to date and it's real. So is that person still at that company? Is that still the
Yeah.
right, correct email address? All of that good stuff. Just make sure your data is clean. And
And
and to be honest, you could find, if you don't know, do it yourself, you can find somebody on Upwork for a few bucks an hour who will go and clean your data for you.
yeah. And I look, there are plenty of platforms out there. I just
Yeah.
did it recently. I dropped about 3,000 old contacts off my, like, I
Yeah.
love making my list smaller
Yeah.
because
Oh, yeah.
it's,
And that's the other thing I would say too is don't get caught up in the quantity over quality thing. It's
yeah.
better off that you have the right contacts, the data is clean, you have a simple process that you're following. And I think the other part is that you start to transition to managing your business through the CRM, because at the end of the day, the CRM is the tip of the spear, right?
Mhm.
Because whatever is the CRM is going to tell you your forecasts, it's your revenue, all of that, right? And that obviously informs the rest of your business. So I would say that it becomes very critical that the CRM information is very accurate.
Okay. And just to be clear, now we're going to talk about Pipeliner specifically. All right. Does this include an email system, a text system? What does this include?
Yeah, with Pipeliner, yeah, we have built-in email, mass emails, email sequencing, so you can build the email
Mhm.
campaigns. You can text people from the app. You can all of that is built into the system to make it easy. Because I'm going to go back to a point you raised earlier, and that is how do you know the way your prospect or customer likes to interact? The thing is,
Yeah.
there's 5 generations in the workforce today, right? I don't know
Mhm.
what the fifth is, but somebody who knows way better than me told me this recently. Would you 5 generations in the workforce, and then you have people who consume information in very different ways, right? And like to consume information in very different ways. So you also have to bear that in mind as well. is that, am I providing information that can be leveraged by different types of people? So do I have my PDFs to send out? Do I have my videos? Do I have my white papers? Do I have all of this? I think it's very important that you also think about how people like to be communicated to, because back to your point, that's why we provide, there's email in the system, there's text in the system. However, whatever way you and your customer or prospect to interact, the system will support that.
Okay. And what's the thing that people start noticing pretty quickly once they start using a pipeline?
When you start using any CRM and using a pipeline, you use yours, the first thing you'll see is the visual nature of it, so it's very easy to see. And I think that's the essence of pipeline, is the visibility, in that it allows you to organize your book of business in a way that makes sense to you, and organize your opportunities in a way that makes sense to you. So I think that's the biggest thing. When you come into pipeline, you build it, the first thing you'll notice is the visual nature, because at the end of the day, salespeople are visual people, generally speaking.
Yeah.
And therefore, and that's one of the reasons why traditional CRM failed, because traditional CRM was built from a command and control perspective, right? It was built by, what do the executives need? And they need all these reports, they need all visibility into all these data. So we'll just throw all of this in. And what did you get? You got this beautiful online Excel spreadsheet of types like Salesforce with lots of columns and rows and everything, and horrible to look at, and salespeople were like, oh, this is terrible. Management was going, oh, this is going to be fantastic. Look at all the reports I'm going to get out of this.
Right.
And of course, they got all the reports, but the data was garbage because nobody wanted to use the system because it was horrible. And so I think that's a really important thing, is to make sure the CRM is built with the salesperson's reality in mind. And that's where we come from. We come from building it from a salesperson perspective, how the system brings them value, how they like to operate. And as I said, that's why we spend an inordinate amount of time on the visuals and making everything we can visualize, we will visualize. Because it just, that's, as I said, that's a lot of the way salespeople interact, but it's also a way we can process information so much faster from a visual than we can from text. And therefore, the more we can visualize things, the better. And that I think is the critical part. Your CRM should be uncovering information for you. It should be presenting you, rather. It should be presenting you with insights that you didn't have before. The way it's...
How does it, in what way? Does it just say, hey, Steve, your customer Bob, or your prospect Bob over here is X, Y, and Z, is thinking about, or has taken a long time. Maybe he's thinking this. Does it do that? Or is it just out there?
No, it can be very specific. And we have with ours, we can tell you, hey, you haven't contacted this one in a time. As I said, you can have your health. You can have a lot of alerts set up. And you see, that's the thing, is you set up alerts and you say, okay, if it reaches this health level, alert me. I need to contact this person. So any activities that happen relating to your, or not happening, which is even more important. Sometimes things happening, it's good. Things not happening, not so good. Yeah, it will alert you in many different ways about areas to take notice of and why. And then we have a very robust reporting engine. And what we do, Dan, which is unusual and different from everyone, is that by default, we give every user access to all the tools. So if I'm an individual salesperson, I can still run all the reports I want. Now, I can't run it on other people's data. I can only run it on mine, or whatever rights I have. But why wouldn't I want to be able to slice and dice? Why wouldn't I be able to run reports and then see my sales velocity, see how my pipeline is growing, or not? What's my win rates like? All of my conversion rate, all of that stuff is easily at your fingertips. And then it rolls up, obviously, so it's easily at the fingertips of anybody else. But that's why I'm saying is our approach to CRM is very much the entrepreneurial approach, is that whoever uses the system, if you're just a salesperson in a big organization, you may think, I'm just a salesperson in a big organization. No, in fact, you're the only entrepreneur in that organization. From maybe the founders, because nobody else is living off of the variable income that you are. The accountant that we mentioned earlier, the accountant's not stressing on the end of the month whether they can balance the books or not, because they don't get paid otherwise. They get paid regardless.
Yeah.
whereas the
And
salesperson doesn't. So it's it's
yeah.
that using the system from an entrepreneurial point of view.
Mm.
That's where the magic happens.
And we talked a little bit about authenticity earlier. And the authenticity of this is that when somebody is hesitating to make a decision, when they haven't said no, right? And every decision is a yes until it's a no. And so when they haven't said no, they're still saying yes, they're just hesitating. So what's going on with that hesitation? They're afraid, right? There is
Mhm.
some level of fear. They're going to make the wrong choice. Their their boss, their spouse, somebody is going to come down on them for making a wrong choice. So they're hesitating, right? And so it's not that the CRM is taking away authenticity, it's actually leveraging it. Because if somebody has spent the past 3 months saying, let me think about it, there's something going on there. And it's what a great opportunity to call them and go, hey, I really want to know what's on your mind about this. Because it's not just there's no way you've been thinking about this for 3 months. The fact
Uh,
is, you haven't been thinking about it at all. Just be honest with what's going
yeah.
on. And then I've had the most substantive conversations from people who hesitate, right? Because the inside of that hesitation is a deep-seated fear. It's something that is endemic in their life that is not working.
Right.
And when you help them find it's really a magical moment. And having a pipeline and seeing where people are hesitating can institute those conversations.
No, 100%, absolutely. And I think that's, as I said, I think that's what CRM should be doing. It should be providing you with the opportunities to add value. So what you're talking about there is an opportunity to have a conversation and really uncover what it is that's holding that person up. And maybe it's something you can solve, maybe it's not. But I also think you raise a really good point as well about, and something that we tend to overlook a lot of the times is that, especially in B2B purchasing, right? So the buyer side. I mean, often it's not one buyer. Obviously, it's a team. It's a number of different people
Yeah,
involved
yeah.
in the buying process often. But the other thing too is every individual, there is the professional outcome and then there's the personal outcome. And sometimes we
Mm.
underestimate the personal outcome. Because as you said, if I make a decision on purchasing something for my organization and it works out great, I get a pat on the back, probably quite career enhancing for me. Everything's good. However, on the flip side, we're in a difficult economy right now. So I make a purchase decision, buy something, it doesn't get adopted, used, and the CFO is going, when can we get out of this contract?
Yeah.
So suddenly I'm not feeling so good and my career maybe is taking a bit of a hit there.
Yeah.
So I think we often underestimate the amount of
Mm.
emotion that's tied up, not just the professional stuff for the company, but the personal stuff too. So
Mhm.
in your point, in your example there, this may come down to a personal issue. And
Yeah.
how are you going to figure that out? The only way you're going to figure that out is by having a conversation and building a rapport and a relationship with that person. And
Mhm.
therefore, having that conversation about what's holding them back. And if you can build the trust and the relationship, then they're more likely to tell you. They just go, I'm just nervous about what happens
Mm.
if we pull the plug on this, or if we not pull the plug, if we pull the trigger on this, I'm going to be associated with this project. It's going to be on me. I'm a little bit nervous about what happens. So that's your opportunity to go, hey, listen, we're going to make you a hero. We're going to
Right.
be here each step of the way. We're going to help you. We're going to support you. We're going to make you. Now I'm thinking, okay, maybe this is a bit different. Now I'm feeling a bit better about it. But to your
Mhm.
point, if the CRM hadn't told me that, oh, look, this is ongoing, it's telling me like this person, this one is moving, it's continually moving, they're continuing not making a situation, it's stalled. You can even mark
Mhm.
it stalled, and this is how do I get this unstalled? And that's where your relationship building skills really come into play.
And that's the most important part of any decision-making process is moving someone beyond that hump of their fears, over that bridge of their fears, right? To the other side where they're happily engaged with your product or service, where their life is better because of your product or service. And, that like, when you were talking earlier about, oh, we thought that CRMs are going to handle all of the sales process for us, but no, they don't. They merely take the prospect to the decision point.
Yes.
They handle that all that time that you spend where they're in indecision. So you can actually take them to indecision so you can bring them into a decision. And that is the most important part of any sales process, getting someone to make a choice,
Mhm.
yes or no. And I tell everybody, no is a perfectly acceptable answer,
Yeah, no, it's a
right?
great answer if because you're not going to invest time, energy, and money in something that's never going to happen.
And somebody ghosting you is not a no. Somebody saying, I'll think about it and get back to you, and they don't is not a no. It's still a potential yes. It is somebody lost and afraid in indecision. So this creates the ultimate opportunity to make a human connection.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's like I said, Dan, I think that's the key to all of these technologies. It's the key to Pipeliner. It's use it as much as you can for all of those things that don't need you as a salesperson to really be involved in it, to be
Yeah,
hands-on involved in it. And focus in on the things that bring real value. And that's more time interacting with your customers or your prospects.
cool. Hey, so a couple questions. Tell us a bit about Sales Pop
Yeah.
and what that is.
Yeah, a number of years back, we were migrating an old blog, and I thought, does the world need more product blogs? And
Of
and
course it
and
does.
of course it does. And both myself and the founder of the company, Nicholas, are big into, we write a lot, we speak a lot. We're very much into the education element. And what we wanted to do was create something that was a give back. So we created Sales Pop, which is an online magazine. It's a YouTube channel. It's on all the streaming platforms, and decided let's go out and find interesting people who've got interesting insights and just bring it to our audience. And not, and this isn't, and some people are saying, oh, I see a content marketing strategy, I see this is it. To be honest, it was never that at all,
Yeah.
because we really wanted to bring value to people, so that we went and we look for guests from across the globe who've got interesting things to say, and then we provide it free to anybody who wants it, not just our customers or whatever, anybody who
Mm.
wants to access it. And as I said, it's our kind of philanthropic give back, because we believe in education. We believe, perfectly honestly, now more than ever, we need people to be more discerning, to be more informed. And focusing in on sales specifically is, we need people to understand and appreciate salespeople, because sales, at the end of the day, salespeople are the ones who support trade. Without
Hmm.
you need to have salespeople in order to trade, because you're, and fair trade between countries, people, communities leads to peace and prosperity, because it's very hard to firebomb your house and then sell you something afterwards.
Right. And so why or what type of information is on Sales Pop?
Oh, it's everything. There's a lot of sales and sales management. So a lot of insights into how to sell better, how to manage sales better, how to lead. There's marketing, there's motivational stuff. There's a lot of entrepreneurial content on it too for
Mm.
entrepreneurs. And we even get into some areas like mental health in the workplace. So it's quite, it started off being purely sales, but it's got quite eclectic
Yeah,
over the years.
I love it. And so how can we have people check out Sales Pop? Where do they go?
Yeah, just salespop, www.salespop.net, or go on YouTube, Sales Pop, iTunes, any of those. Just type in Sales Pop with the exclamation point and you'll find us.
Okay. And finally, how do people connect with Pipeliner? Where
Yeah,
should they start?
it's www.pipelinersales.com.
Hmm.
And I would really encourage you. There's a free trial, no obligation, no credit card information, nothing required. Go take a free trial for 14 days. Check it out. Take a look at it yourself. Come to
Hmm.
the website. Take a look at that as well. And yeah, you'll have a very different experience. I think the thing, what I would say about Pipeliner CRM is, be prepared to have a very different CRM experience. And so
Mm.
therefore it's worth your while checking out, because you'll meet, if you've had any experience with CRMs, and most people have and are much scarred by the
Yeah.
are scarred by them. Keep an open mind and you'll see something very different.
What will they find that's different, John?
I think what I said earlier is, number one, it's built from a salesperson perspective. It's very visual, it's very intuitive, and it's extremely powerful. I think that's
Mm.
what people are going to see from the get-go. But at the same time, it's still, because of the visual, the intuitive nature, all of the things that we do, the drag and drops, the no code automation, is that we keep it.
Mm.
So it's very powerful, but it's still easy to use.
Got it. And I offer a text in keyword. So just text the name Golden, which is John's last name, John Golden. So text Golden, Golden, to this number, 213-409-8366. 213-409-8366. And you'll get an instant text back with the link to check out Pipeliner Sales for free. No credit card information required. Once again, just text the name Golden, Golden, to 213-409-8366. John, thank you so much for coming on for Badass Entrepreneurs Only. Like I say, it's very rare that I promote a product, but I really like what your company is about. I really like how Pipeliner has created itself for salespeople, because it is what salespeople need and a lot of salespeople resist. So I really urge everybody to try this out. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. It's been a pleasure. And for those of you who aren't aware, Dan was also on my show, so go check that out as well.
A real pleasure, John. Be well. Hey, one last thing. If you're feeling stuck in business life, wherever, download my book, Jumping the Gap, Kill Your Story and Take Action. In this book, you'll see how the stories that you tell yourself are stopping yourself from living your greatest life. Just text the word GAP, G-A-P, to this number, 213-409-8366. 213-409-8366, and text the word GAP. It's a short read, it's fun, it's easy, and if you hate reading like I do, you can grab the audiobook. It's at that same link. Just text the word GAP, G-A-P, to 213-409-8366. You'll love it. All right, that's it. Go out there and be badass today.